Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan, and so glad to have you along with us. As I am here in the studio today, it is an absolutely beautiful day. I feel like we've turned the corner. I feel like springtime is indeed here. And I, for one, could not be happier. Springtime brings so many different outdoor recreational opportunities here. Of course, springtime turkey hunting season, all the great fishing seasons, morel mushroom season, just everything getting outdoors. And it just, it feels good. It feels good. I personally am very excited about turkey season. In fact, on the way into the studio here this morning, I made a little detour, a little side trip. I left early so I could go out and do some scouting, trying to roost some birds. My #1 property that I like to hunt because it's close to the house and it has birds on it is owned by my buddy Doug. So the last couple of weeks, I've done a lot of drive-bys to see if I could see birds out in the field. Haven't seen any, and I'm starting to get a little bit nervous. I have seen a few tracks in the mud back by the woods. This is an interesting property because Doug's farm does not extend into the woods, but the woods are where the birds roost. So what I have to do is try to call the birds off the roost over to my buddy Doug's property. And, you know, I've had some success doing that and had close encounters and shot birds there several times. But this year, as I've told you before, the farmer took down a row of trees, and I don't know how that's going to change things because I used to like to set up my Wraith 270 see-through ground blind back in that corner because I had a lot of cover. This year, I don't know. Anyway, so I go out there early this morning and just wait to hear, right? Wait to hear a bird gobble on the roost. Normally, in past years, the birds would roost, to the southeast of the property. So that's where I set up. Again, just waiting to hear something. I want to hear a bird gobble. I want to hear a bird gobble to know that they're at least in the area because I haven't been seeing them. About 6:25, just starting to crack daylight, and I hear the first gobble. Oh, what a relief that was. Of course, he's on the other corner of the property. He's on the northeast side of the property, but he's there. And then I hear another bird gobble. Okay, we've got 2 birds there. And then maybe a third gobble. All right, so, and they don't sound like jakes, they sound like longbeards. Okay, whew, I can breathe a sigh of relief. I've got birds in the area. So next Saturday, well, probably next Friday, I will take my Wraith 270 see-through ground blind out there and set it up in that corner of the property and be all ready to go. Listen, speaking of that ground blind, if you want to get one of those Wraith 270 see-through blinds, the blinds that I use for turkey hunting, for bear hunting, and for deer hunting, I've teamed up with the folks at Primal Outdoors and Jay's Sporting Goods to offer a real good discount, but it's only good for the month of April. So don't wait. If you go into Jay's in the Claire store or the Gaylord store, walk back there, pick up one of those Wraiths, go to the counter and say, I want the Avery discount. And they're probably going to know what the Avery discount is. If they don't, it's Avery 424. Avery 424. And you'll get one of those blinds for $149.99. If you can't make it to the stores, if you go to jsportinggoods.com, that's jsportinggoods.com, at checkout, use the promo code Avery424. You can get one for that same price, less than $150. How can you pass that up? You can't. I went up there and used my own promo code and bought one of my own. Anyway, I'm very excited about turkey season. I will be out there this year with a crossbow. I don't know what head I'm going to use yet. It's going to be a rec head. I don't know if it's going to be their traditional expandable, if it's going to be their new bigger expandable, or if I'm just going to go with a fixed blade. Turkeys are surprisingly hard critters to take with archery tackle. So, maybe the biggest cut I can get on a broadhead is what I should go with. But I'm so excited about turkey season. And that gobble this morning, that very first gobble, reminded me of why I love it so much. If you haven't tried turkey hunting, I really think you should. If for no other reason than to give you an opportunity to be in the woods in the springtime and listen to the woods come alive, the songbirds, the Tweety birds, watch the sun come up and hear that first gobble, it is absolutely addicting. You know what else I'm addicted to? Yes, you do. Walleye fishing. And with the change in the weather, the turn in the weather, I suspect I don't want to lock myself into a corner here that I can't live up to the timetable, but sometime here in the very near future, we're going to get the Angler Quest out of storage at Linwood Beach Marina, get it on the water. So I'll be dividing my time between turkey hunting and walleye fishing. That's a pretty good option to have, isn't it? The coyote decoy in the backyard is still surprisingly working fairly well. I move it around every couple of days. The coyote decoy is out there to try to keep the geese out of the yard. I don't want to put up the goose fence this year, just because it's a lot of work. If I can put a decoy in the backyard and keep the geese out of the yard, it's just a lot easier. I suspect that eventually the effectiveness of that coyote standing there still in the backyard is probably going to wear off. But for now, it seems to be working pretty good. Speaking of coyotes, makes me think about wolves. There is still the question of that wolf that was shot by that coyote hunter in Calhoun County. More questions than answers. This was shot by a hunter back in January. It was a coyote hunter. The situation is still under investigation. What do I mean by that? Well, it's illegal to shoot a wolf. And this actually, the DNA proved that it was a wolf. But will the guy be charged? I mean, who could have reasonably expected a southern Michigan coyote hunter to hold off shooting a big coyote because it was a wolf? Is that a reasonable expectation? I don't know. And the decision hasn't been made yet there as we are sitting in the studio right now as to what to do. Now, they may come out tomorrow and say, no, the guy is scot-free or they're going to charge him. But as we're sitting in the studio right now, we don't know. You know what else we don't know? Where it came from. I said right from the start that I was very suspect of this. Something just doesn't seem right to me. Is it possible that a wolf would wander down from the UP? Absolutely. Is it possible that a wolf would wander down from the northern lower peninsula? Possibly. I've heard people say, well, it came over from Wisconsin. I don't think it came over from Wisconsin. What did it do? Swim Lake Michigan? Did it cross through Chicago? Or is there another option? Did it get there because somebody had a pet wolf? This is not unheard of. It's happened before. And it got away. You're not supposed to. It's illegal. It seems kind of dumb to raise a wolf. But it escaped. Or it just got to be too much and they just went out in the woods and they let it go. I've also heard theories that the DNR trapped one from the UP and brought it down to release it. Or some Youper who was trying to make a point trapped a wolf up there and brought it down. I'd love to find out definitively where this came from. Unfortunately, I don't think we ever will. But the idea, boy, I don't think there are as many wolves in the Lower Peninsula as people keep telling me that there are. I get people all the time say, I've got wolves on my trail camera. Cool. Send me the picture. And I see the picture, and it's not a wolf, it's a big coyote. But here's my request. I would love to, if you have proof of wolves in the Lower Peninsula, either, it's going to have to be a trail camera picture, right? Send it to me. If you don't want me to share it, I won't. But if there are that many wolves in the Lower Peninsula, as people are claiming, let's try to get a handle on it. Send me a picture of your trail camera picture with a wolf on it to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Send it to me. I will keep it confidential, but please tell me what county it's in, when the picture is from, and let's see. I just don't think they're out there in the numbers that a lot of people claim. I think it's going to be one of those mysteries. It's going to be right up there with the Ron Pola buck. Coming up this week's Outdoor Magazine show after the break, Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots, then Will Fitzpatrick from Michigan Moon, and Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews. In our second hour, the YakMaster, Dave Mull, Katie Grzesiak talking about invasive species, then Glen Duncan answers this week's Ask Avery question. And in hour number 3, we're talking turkey with Tom Lounsbury. All that plus wild game chef Dixie Dave Miner and more coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. You can hear us in Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM, and north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is your best bet. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class, and he can help you because, listen, if John can get me a captain's license, he can get you one as well. Check out the website, pmtcaptains.com. That's pmtcaptains.com. John has classes across the state, different parts of the state, a different time schedule. I'm sure you can find one that will fit into your schedule as well. That's pmtcaptains.com, pmtcaptains.com. Well, I said it feels like springtime now. So a lot of things to get busy on, right? Including, and I didn't mention this before the break, of all the different things you could be turkey hunting, you could be fishing, you could be morel hunting, or maybe you want to be putting in some food plots. I have been talking with Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots periodically here throughout this late winter, early spring season, but now it seems time to get busy in earnest, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Rich, you've been waiting for this weather, haven't you?
Oh, I have. Yep. It's been beautiful the last couple of days.
And you've been busy, or is it too early?
Nope. So, my online sales have really, been picking up. This warm weather gets people shopping and in the mood. So, I'm going to turn a little dirt today. That's just more of a, I've been repairing a lot of equipment, right? So I want to make sure everything's kosher, and I've got a couple plots out here. I want to turn the dirt right now, pack it back down, let it grow so I can kill it off and get a good kill off for spring. But yeah, right now, soil samples, I've been doing a couple, property consults. It's go time right now. So,
well, I find this whole concept of food plots very interesting because, since hunters in the Lower Peninsula can't use bait, that's about the only option. Unfortunately, folks on public land can't put in food plots, but if you've got private land or access to private land, I think you'd agree it's a pretty good option.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. It's a great attractant. It's a great health improvement for the deer and the habitat, all the animals that eat it. That's the big thing. You want to have a healthy herd. And it's going to be a good season this year. I believe it's going to be the season for big bucks with that light winter we had. The deer aren't stressing out, so... and like you say, with this weather, I'm looking right now at the soil temps in my area, and it's been above 50 degrees for the last 4 days. That's pretty impressive for this time of year. So, I mean, we may be able to plant here in May instead of waiting for June, which is pretty exciting. It stretches out my season a little bit, but it's Mother Nature too, right? So we have to be careful.
So what soil temperature are you looking for? Is there an ideal number?
So, for me, for what I do, my ideal number is above 60 degrees. That's when I can start planting my border patrol and confident that the ground's not gonna go down. Sorry about the noise, Mike. I got some work going on at the house here.
Oh, that's all right. I completely understand that. Absolutely.
But like the sorghums and corn, they like that 60 degree, 65 degree consecutive temp for, three nights, I like to say. So that's what I'm looking for, switch grasses and stuff like clovers, they can be planted a little earlier, but what you really have to watch out for is you want that competitive vegetation, all them weeds and the grasses, you want them to start growing to kill them off. If you turn the dirt and you plant too soon, you're just going to end up with more weeds than you are a food source for the deer.
Oh, really? So I didn't know you could plant too early. I'm thinking, boy, as soon as you can get the seeds in the ground, the earlier the better.
Yeah, no, it really depends on like your fall prep, right? Maybe you did the work, you had the area to set aside and you killed it off and it's just dirt right now. Yeah, you could probably do that, but you definitely got to let it grow. A new plot, what I like to do is I like to let it start growing, spray it off, maybe even turn the dirt if I have the time, pack it, let it grow for a couple more weeks, get that other seed bed stirred up and growing, and then spray it off again. Like I say, if you do the spray off too early and you've got all them weeds that haven't sprouted yet, that's just a lot of competition for the food plot you're trying to establish. So it is really important to do that. Some people don't like to spray, so they just disc it. They'll disc all the weeds in, they'll let it grow, and then they'll disc them in again. And you can get the majority of the weeds to die off by doing that without having to use chemicals. That's becoming pretty popular.
Is it really?
So,
it's obviously more work if you go that way. But speaking of spraying, I mean, what do you use to spray to kill things off?
I like Roundup. You can buy that glyphosate from TSC, the 43% glyphosate, I think it is. That's really what you're using to kill off all vegetation is a glyphosate. I like the Roundup brand. It's more expensive, but I mean, I've had good success with it, so I just like to stick with what works. So,
well, here's a stupid question though: if you spray Roundup to kill everything off, how can you come back in that same land and put in seeds and grow them?
So Roundup is not a pre-emergent. A pre-emergent is something that actually goes and it stays in the soil to prevent weeds from emerging. Roundup is a post-emergent. It attacks the vegetation. It gets on the vegetation, goes straight to the root, and it kills the root, and then it, obviously everything else dies off. So it doesn't leave that residual in the soil.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I've worked dirt as soon as 3 days after spraying, and been fine. I suggest 5 to 7, but if you get in a crunch, you can do it. So,
well, that's the thing about food plots, right? I mean, you can have a plan. But none of this is really set in stone. I mean, you kind of got to work around your schedule and Mother Nature and kind of do the best that you can, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're supposed to get 2 inches of rain now in the next 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be crazy. So, and that's really what you got to be careful of too, right? So if you get that 2 inches of rain and you don't have a good firm seed bed, you're going to wash a lot of seed out of there. And that's another thing. Planting too early, you could have to deal with all the rain. We're still going to get the April showers, right, to get all the flowers. So it's a patience game right now, right? And I'm not a patient person. I'll admit that. It's like the sun's shining in the window right now. I want to get out there and I just want to get to it. But you can really hurt yourself by doing that, being too impatient. So but I mean, there's a lot to do.
So what are you saying, Rich, that, we should probably wait until May to put these seeds in the ground then?
Yeah, I mean, I would, to be safe. You still got plenty of growing time then, right? I mean, I'm usually starting the planning. I'm usually starting the end of May, first week of June. So, and you still get plenty of food, right? There's still plenty of grow time right then. So yeah, I mean, we just got to be patient. It's hard. There's a lot of things you can do, right? Soil samples right now. Go out and mow the tall, nasty, dead grasses out of your plot, so that way when you go to spray it, you're not wasting spray on dead vegetation. You know, it's out of the way. The vegetation's growing up through what you've knocked down, and you can get good contact with that and kill it off. So, yeah, I mean, if you're getting antsy, sure, find something to do that's not going to break the bank and frustrate you, you know. I mean, turn some dirt, let it grow, turn it again, and then get ready for the soil to be to that 60-degree temp. I think you'd be good. So,
speaking of breaking the bank, though, are food plots expensive? And I don't know how you answer that question, because I guess it's going to depend on the seed and what you had to do to it and how much. But overall, is the practice something that is going to be pretty expensive?
I mean, it can be, right, depending on the area you want to do. I usually say, I say start small, quarter acre or whatever, and perfect that and move up and do another quarter acre next to it or somewhere else and do that. The soil amendment is what can be expensive, and that's where your soil test comes in. So it lets you know what you need. You're not spending too much. You're not spending too little. But once you get all that established, right, I mean, a food plot, the initial cost can be there, but if you do clovers or whatever, you're not really doing anything except mowing it after that, right? So, I mean, your cost will go down once your soil's getting amended and it needs less lime every year, less potash or whatever it's requiring. So yeah, that first one can be expensive, but once you get into it and you know what you're doing and you're perfecting how you do it, you can get away with it pretty inexpensive. If food plots were throw and grow and everyone would just go out there and throw seed down and it would grow without having to do any of the work and any of the soil amendment, I mean, everybody would be doing food plots, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, my mom would be out planting food plots if that was the case. It's just, it's not how it works. You get what you put into it, and that's pretty important for people to understand. It might be pricey and it's going to be a lot of work if you do it right, but it's going to be so beneficial that that's all going to just wash away, right? You're going to sit there over that food plot watching deer, and then you're going to start thinking about what you're going to do next year. So now the work just becomes an incentive, So it's exciting. I like it. I like to help people maintain their lands and get people educated on how to do them themselves. I mean, there's so many food plots out there. There's no way I could do them all for sure. And but those people that want to do it themselves, get the kids out there. It's been a family thing for me for years. My daughter was in diapers when she smashed her finger on her first rock out picking rocks. It's just it's just hunting. That camaraderie. It's all one group thing, if that makes sense.
No, it does. You talk about the variety and the volume of different food plots and seeds and companies out there. I mean, there are a lot of companies out there, Rich, and Michigan-based Killer Food Plots, family-owned, kind of a smaller operation. How do you compete with these big national companies that have all these resources behind them?
I pride myself on customer service, contacting people, getting back with people, making sure that I'm communicating when Mother Nature dampens my plans for the week. I got to make sure I reach out and let somebody know, hey, I'm not going to be on your property because it got washed out this week. Educating people the best I can. I mean, just customer service, I guess, is what I'm trying to do. I don't need to be huge. I'm a humble guy. My family is very humble, and we're happy to be able to do something we enjoy, right? So that's what it comes down to is the customer service side of things, having a great quality product. We put a lot of time and stuff into our products to make sure it's a high quality. So that's where we're at with that.
All right, Rich. I appreciate that. And listen, we'll talk again as we get closer to actually putting some seed in the ground. Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots, killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com, Michigan-based, family-owned. I love that. Speaking of Michigan-based, family-owned, we'll take a break when we come back. When you're out there doing food plots or hunting or whatever, you might run into some bugs. Well, Will Fitzpatrick of Michigan Moon says he's got a solution to keep them off you. We'll find out the details coming up. can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Caro on WIDL 92.1 FM and WKYO 1360 AM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Great facilities, great campground, great shop, great ship store, great people. What more can you ask? linwoodbeachmarina.com. Okay, I was talking about springtime outdoor activities. Hunting, fishing, morel season coming up, food plot season coming up. But what is one thing that you might have to deal with in all of those situations? Well, besides Mother Nature and the weather, bugs. We got a lot of bugs here in Michigan. I love this state, but we got a lot of bugs. Will Fitzpatrick says he's got a way to keep those bugs under control. His company is Michigan Moon, the website michiganmoon.com, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Will, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Oh, great. Thank you. How about yourself?
I am doing just great. Listen, how did this whole bug squatch concept come about?
Well, 12 years ago, I was a northern Michiganer. I was born and raised here like a lot of people. I would go in the store, and I've tried everything from the top name brands of bug repellent to the ones that weren't that, name brand, and none of them would work. They'd work for a little bit, but the skin burns, the long-term effects of them, I said to my brother one day, I'm done. So I went in the house, and about 2 days later, I came up with what I thought would be repellent after doing all my research. And we went out in the cedar swamp in northern Michigan, and we tested it, and the bugs wouldn't land. So approximately, about a month later, my cousin was going into Saskatchewan and came back with the same rapport. Black flies, horse flies, mosquitoes, no-see-ums, ticks. They wanted nothing to do with it. Time went by, and I was in the Upper Peninsula last year, and it all spawned. A store owner in Paradise said that he needed something that would work on horse flies, and I gave him a sample, and within a half an hour my phone rang, and he said he needed 10 cases in his store. He's never seen anything like it since then. We're in about 18 stores in Michigan and climbing daily.
So is this a spray? Is it a lotion? What is it, Will?
Well, we have both. We actually, I just came up with a lotion that just smells great. Our sprays are a great misting spray. It's all natural. There's no chemicals whatsoever in it. We've had people tell us that they sprayed it on a bee sting, and the bee sting disappears within 3 minutes or less. We ourselves tested it on fire ants in Florida. Not only did it kill the fire ants, but it took the sting and the itch away within minutes and minimized the full-on reaction of a fire ant sting down to about 4 days, 5 days, where normally it would take you up to 30 days.
So how long? I like the fact that it doesn't smell like chemicals. How long is it going to last? If I put this on in the morning, is it going to get me through the whole day, or do I have to reapply?
That's a good question. A lot of it depends on, rain. It depends if you're sweating a lot. Most generally, I just got a review came in 2 days ago, and a gentleman was setting in South Carolina, and he said that the no-see-ums came in like wildfire. He put on one of the leading brand sprays. Not only was his skin on fire, but about a half an hour later, they came back with vengeance. He told me that he put our spray on after wiping off the old stuff, and he was so impressed he ordered again because it stayed on. He said was 3 hours, and they still hadn't come back yet. So we have people in Florida that are using it and say that they put it on their children in the morning, and the children come back home at the end of the day from playing outside and doing their things and no bites. And prior to that, they were getting bit all the time.
Will it keep ticks away? Will it keep the ticks away?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you spray this on, the tick, there's videos on our website of showing a tick running away from the area where I sprayed the repellent.
So
We also have them for dogs.
No DEET, no permethrin.
No, absolutely not. As I've learned as 12 years of experience in this, if we all think about this, Mother Nature has a plan for everything. Evolution has taught bugs what's toxic and what to stay away from. Man has not. Man has tried to duplicate things that Mother Nature already has. Hence, like our candles are made of 6 essential oils and 6 herbs that are highly toxic to bugs. When you light them, they'll clear a whole camping area or your back porch. Citronella, in contrast, is the same as DEET or permethrin. What it's designed to do is to block your scent, but that doesn't stop them from coming in and trying to chew on you. However, our sprays are designed with, our biggest spray has 18 essential oils combined together in a pretty toxic mix for bugs.
Will, listen, I gotta let you go because I'm out of time. If we go to the website, MichiganMoon.com, can we find the retailers there real quick?
Absolutely. We have retailers all through Michigan, or you can order online. And it's a great product, and it's backed with 100% guarantee.
Perfect. Michigan-based, family-owned, Michigan Moon, MichiganMoon.com. That's MichiganMoon.com. When we come back, we'll wrap up this first hour with Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold WCBY. That's 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX and north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Matt Smith, Outdoors Realtor. Matt, a longtime friend of mine, he's an expert at finding recreational properties and vacation homes, and he can help your family turn a dream into reality. Learn more online at Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. And by the way, if you're looking for a new home as your primary residence, Matt can help you out there as well. Again, that's Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram, Matt Smith Outdoors. I want to turn our attention now to Michigan's premier outdoor publication. It's Woods and Water News, but you know that. The website, woods-and-waternews.com. One of the guys responsible for the long-time success of Woods and Water News is Tom Campbell, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Tom, welcome back. How are you?
Well, Mike, thank you. I appreciate it.
And it feels like it's springtime out there, too, doesn't it?
It does. It absolutely does. But we know here at the office that we got a 21-week countdown before the 38th annual outdoor weekend at the Eastern Michigan Fairgrounds.
Tom, it's way too early to start thinking about that, isn't it?
I'm sorry, Mike. I know you would think so, but right now, actually, with us, it's kind of the heart of the season because right now we're locking in all those vendors and getting all that vendor situation squared away and our layout all done, and that's real important, of course, because so it's kind of it overshadows sometimes the brilliant weather we're having this past week, and spring has sprung. But we certainly will be out there chasing turkeys in another week or so.
Yeah. Listen, I want to go back to the big Woods and Water outdoor weekend.
Yeah.
Do you feel sometimes like you created a monster that you just can't get away from?
Sometimes we do. Absolutely. But it's a good monster,
yes,
you know.
Yes.
Yeah, there's days that you're in here for 12 hours trying to figure out what am I going to do here, what am I going to do there, or this person canceled. What are we going to do here? Or we need better entertainment. So it's a constant battle, but the results, you always feel good that weekend, and we've been so fortunate with the weather, and we've had some great crowds, and we made it through that pandemic situation, and so you put that all together and you go, it's a good thing, and this year we've even got another step up because with the way the calendar worked and leap year, a weekend earlier, so the youth hunt will be the week following.
Oh, won't that be
weekend.
nice?
So, yeah, that would be nice. We don't have to compete with the youth hunt, which we never want to do. But the calendar is the calendar. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So this year it's the 6th, 7th, and 8th at the Eastern Michigan Fairgrounds. So that helps out a lot too. And we're going to go full bore at it. We're and you're always trying to tweak things, make it better, looking for something new, something unique. So you stay busy for sure, but it's a good busy.
Well, in the meantime, you've got the day-to-day work of putting out a magazine too.
You bet. Our April issue is out on that newsstand right now with that big gobbler on it, and some great stories. And within a week or so, the May issue will be starting to hit the newsstands. And that's going to be loaded with some real good stuff that we've been working on. And of course, we're following the big story of the wolf killed in Calhoun County, so that'll be featured in that May issue as well.
So listen, what is, I've been trying to learn more about this as well right now. They're kind of tight-lipped, and as we are talking right now, I can't come up with any new information. Have you guys found out anything at all, Tom?
Exactly. No, and we've even got it in on some of the participants in it. But, yeah, it's just like they don't know which one. Obviously, they know what's going on, but no, nothing new. And it's such a delicate subject, too, with, endangered species. And so all that included. So, yeah, I'm sure they're not going to say much until they know exactly what's going on. But it's crazy where that wolf came from. I think that's one of the real big issues is why there, why then, why in Calhoun County, and it's so mind-boggling to have that happen.
I know. I just hope that sometime eventually we will actually get an answer, but I don't know if we will, Tom.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know if they can. If we flash back, how many years ago? 15 years ago to the Wolverine and the thumb. Did we ever really get an answer on the Wolverine? I mean, we had a great connection. We followed it. We loved it. It was a good story. But once it died, did we really know where it came from? How did it get to the thumb? All those questions were never really answered.
The thumb Wolverine, the Calhoun County wolf, and the Mitch Rompola buck. 3 great mysteries of our lifetime.
Oh, Mike, that's the same thing that popped in my mind as soon as I said that. We got another one with the Mitch Rompola buck.
Well, I will trust you guys at Woods-n-Waternews to keep an eye on things. I will be anxiously awaiting each month's issue, and I'll wish you luck in the turkey woods, Tom.
Great. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews, woods-n-waternews.com is the website. You can also find them all over social media. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, the YakMaster, Dave Mull, talking about early season fishing, maybe some panfish, maybe some bass, and, of course, out of a kayak. Then Katie Grzesiak of the DNR on invasive species, what they want us to know about that. And Glen Duncan answers the question, this week's Ask Avery segment. If you're trying to save money on your turkey loads, can you just shoot steel shot? Well, Glenn will have that answer and more coming up in hour 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations. And I am firmly convinced the best way to listen to the show, if you can, is on your local radio station, your local AM or FM station. If your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, isn't it nice to know that there's a podcast version of the show available? Where do you hear the podcast? Well, you can hear it on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page. It's on everything. Amazon, Audible, Twitter, now called X, LinkedIn, Google Play, iHeart, SoundCloud, Spotify, yada, 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 even on YouTube. I do like podcasting, though. Each month I do podcasts for some of my advertising partners, including Offshore Tackle. In fact, when we're done today in the studio, we will record this month's Offshore podcast. I think next week we're going to do the Primal Outdoors podcast. And I was talking with Mr. AnglerQuest, Brad Dupuis, and I think in May, I know in May, we're going to bring back the AnglerQuest podcast. You know, the story of AnglerQuest kind of in transition. Well, that company's coming back stronger than ever under the direct guidance of Mr. AnglerQuest himself, Brad Dupuis, and we're going to talk about that and more starting back up in May, so keep an ear out for that. Regardless of how you are hearing my voice, when you are hearing my voice, I have to give you a big thank you. I would not be able to do this. I would not have been able to do this for as many years as I have without your support. And I have been doing this for a while. Yeah, just a couple of years. And I've got to meet some very interesting people over the years. One of them is a guy named Dave Mull. Now, I first got to know Dave back when he was at Starcraft Boats. And then he was with Great Lakes Angler Magazine. And then he was with the Michigan Outdoor Writers Association. And these days, one of the things Dave loves to do is promote the sport of kayak fishing, the whole concept of kayak fishing. So I thought, you know what? It's a good time of year to get Dave back on the show, and he has graciously agreed to join me. Dave, you got your hair all ready to go? You ready for your 10 minutes of fame here?
I am completely coiffed, Mike. I'm ready to go.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Doing real well. The season is starting for our kayak tournaments. We had our first tournament last night. I had to miss it, but we are underway in the top water tournaments, and there's some other really cool tournaments happening around the state, and a lot of continued interest in kayaking and kayak bass fishing in particular.
Dave, how did you make this transition? I mean, I used to know you as a big water guy, a big boat guy, and these days we're more likely to find you sitting on top of a yak. How did this whole metamorphosis come about?
Yeah, well, it's way more likely to find me on a yak than on a big lake anymore. Just because, one, I'm a little tentative about going on the big water since I sank all those years ago.
I can see where that would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that had something to do with it. But when my job at Great Lakes Angler all those years ago got moved to Oregon, and I wasn't invited to go along with it, I lost our project boats that I was using on the big lake, any access to the beautiful Starcrafts and stuff that we had, and I did have a Hobie kayak that I ended up buying after we did a cover shoot with it. And I hadn't used it. It sat in my driveway for like a year and a half. And I had a freelancing assignment to get a picture of Humminbird electronics. And I happened to have a little one that was installed on that Hobie. So I took it out, and, of course, I threw a rod in. And for the first time on the water, I was pedaling around, getting, the GPS speed and stuff, taking pictures of the little unit. And I did have a ride along, and I cast into some lily pads and had a big strike, and this bass, it was like a 3-pounder, it towed me into the lily pads. And I was like, I am charmed by this. It was so cool. That being the only boat that I had, I started using it a lot, and I just really enjoyed it. I'll bet you I've been in boats last year maybe 3 times, actual outboard motor boats, but I fished a lot, and the rest of it was all in a kayak.
So what's the appeal?
Well, one, it's way cheaper as far as maintenance and insurance and low fuel costs and, just getting one in the first place. You can get into kayak fishing for like $600 with a new kayak, You really can't do that with most boats, And I just like being down close to the water. You just feel like you're a part of everything. You kind of it's a more interesting kind of predator mode when you're in a kayak. You can really move up really close to fish a lot of times that you can't do that well in a bigger boat. And it's just and it's also kind of a challenge. I like the aspect of kind of working with Mother Nature, for lack of a better way to put it. When the wind is blowing and you want to go fishing, you figure out how you can use the wind to your advantage, so that you're not battling it the whole time, and then you actually have some time to fish. You might paddle or pedal, or a lot of guys have electric motors now on their kayaks. So you just move all the way upwind, and let the wind push you down the lake the way you want to go, and anchor up and fish some structure and move along and fish some more structure. And it's kind of, I guess I like the planning aspect of it too, to figure out how you can use what's going on with wind and all that to your advantage.
Is it cheating or defeating the purpose by putting an electric motor on a kayak?
I used to think so, and I had one that had an electric motor for a while, and I liked it, but I don't think it's cheating at all. As far as the tournament scene goes, there's a guy named Shane Nickerson, and I know he'll love hearing his name on the radio, who won our Angler of the Year in one of our topwater leagues last year. And he had, a real entry-level, Walmart brand, I think it was a Pelican kayak, no electronics, just the paddle, and he kicked everybody's butt, including mine. I mean, I finished second, but he was on top of it. And you don't need a motor to be great, you just need to know what you're doing fishing-wise, which is another thing I like about it. I have two kayaks right now. One is a Old Town Predator that has the pedal drive system. I've got electronics on it and stuff, and that's the one I mostly use in tournaments. But last year I got a Crescent Shoaly, which is a new kayak designed by Drew Gregory, who is a guy from Ohio that has won all kinds of national tournaments. And he designed it, and I wrote one up for Bassmaster, and he liked what I did and had the company send me one. So I have that one, but I don't have any electronics on it or anything. And it's just a pleasure to fish out of that one, too. In fact, my best tournament finish last year was fishing out of that one without any electronics. I just, had an anchor wizard on it to be able to have a little bit more boat control. And it's just a lot of fun to use a paddle kayak, too, without anything. It's kind of like the guys that do the 3D shoots with a recurve bow.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of getting back to basics, and I enjoy that.
I know you concentrate primarily on bass, but I'm thinking a yak would be a great way to get out in the springtime after bluegills up on the beds or something like that too, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I need to do more of that. Every year I say I'm going to, but I end up just completely transfixed or focused on lakes on our schedule. But yeah, I've done all sorts of things out of kayaks before I really got hardcore into the tournaments. It's a great boat for night fishing for trout and crappies. You can just get one of those floating lights and anchor up and let the fish come to you, catch them with minnows or waxworms or whatever. I've had a lot of fun doing that. I've trolled in like Lake Michigan, real close to shore. There's guys that go way out, but you you can pedal those kayaks or paddle them and troll up cohos this time of year down in like the southern end of Lake Michigan when they're up in their shallow. You catch some brown trouts and cohos, and that's a lot of fun too. And then there's guys on the Wisconsin side that fish kayaks for king salmon a lot, and lake trout and whatever else. But over there, with the way the wind blows, it's usually colder water closer to shore, so those guys don't have to go out miles to find cold water and fish.
Hang tight, Dave. We got to take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking to the YakMaster, Dave Mull. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram. That's Dave Mull, M-U-L-L. You're likely going to see a picture of him sitting in a kayak, probably holding up a nice bass as well. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, more with Dave Mull, then Katie Grzesiak from the DNR, and Glen Duncan of Duncan's Outdoors, coming up in hour 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. You can also hear us there in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in, let's go to St. Joe, WSJM 94.9 FM. And then let's go north of the bridge. Let's go to Escanaba, WCHT 600 AM 93.5 FM. Speaking of north of the bridge, this segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by this company. Well, the company that makes that sound, right? That's the sound of my Rapid River knife opening. You know I love Rapid River knives. I carry one all the time. I would encourage you to stop by their shop on US 2, just east of Rapid River, and check it out. It's a destination. If you are in that part of the Yup, or if you just want to make a trip there, I would, again, strongly encourage you to do that. All kinds of cool mounts in there. You can see all kinds of products. Their knives. You can watch them build knives. You can buy a knife. You can have them put your name on it right there, engrave it right there on the knife. Lifetime guarantee. And here's the best part, or a really cool part. Right now, if you use the promo code Avery10, you can save 10% on your knife. That's both in the store and online. So if you go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.us, pick out your knife, and use the promo code Avery10, and you'll save 10%. How cool is that? RapidRiverKnifeWorks.us, by the way, is the website once again. We're talking right now with Dave Mull, the YakMaster. Dave, is there a YakMaster.com website or something? Where do we find you online?
I need to increase my blog presence. Right now, the best place is on Facebook, really. Just Dave Mull. I do have a WordPress site that is, I think it actually has actual cobwebs on it that I just haven't submitted enough stuff to. You can read my stuff monthly in Woods-n-Waternews, and I still do occasional stuff for Bassmaster, yeah, and at MidwestOutdoors.com, I have some stuff on there too.
so you're not ready to call it quits just yet. Then it sounds like.
No, I'm on the government dole, but I need a reason to get up and take a shower in the morning and do some stuff, and it's nice to have a little bit of extra income for paying for yak habits.
Well, I'll give you a reason to get up. Some more questions here from the big guy, Mike Avery. You said in the first segment, you used a couple of terms in reference to kayaks. You said paddle and pedal. What's that all about?
Well, a lot of kayaks are available with foot pedals that either work as like a bicycle that spins a propeller, or there's the original Hobie Mirage Drive type pedal system where you push back and forth and it moves fins underneath the boat that they compare to how a penguin flies through the water. And both of those systems work really well. Each one has its own little advantages. But just pedal drive in general is, I think, an easier way to fish because you can move with your feet and, have both hands on your rod and reel and cast and fish while you're moving. Whereas if you're paddling, you of course have to set your rod down and pick up your paddle. So you can get a lot more casts in and cover more water when you pedal. But then again, the guys that do have paddles do just as well competitively a lot of times. So I like having a pedal system, pedal, excuse me, just because, as you're searching around looking at what's shown on your little electronics unit, you can fish while you're moving.
So what are you looking for in a kayak? We've talked about this before. I know just enough to not even be dangerous, but I know there's a sit-in and a sit-on configuration.
Yeah,
what's that all about?
Is way better for fishing just because a sit-in is like the classic kayak that you see the Eskimos using, with sealskin or whatever stretched over driftwood or whatever they make the frame out of. And guys have those and fish out of them, and they're fine, but there's just not a lot of storage space. If you set a rod on top, it's likely to slide off. Whereas a sit on top is the kind that has, a lot of them have very comfortable seat arrangements that are adjustable for your size and stuff. And they have a back area where you can put a tackle crate. They have places where you can install rod holders, and a lot of kayaks, most fishing kayaks have track systems where you can slide in, your Anchor Wizard crank or rod holders and, a net holder, paddle holder, whatever you want there. There's just a lot more space and comfort in a sit on top. So that's what I would highly recommend for someone to look at if they want to try out a kayak for fishing, for sure.
What size? What length?
Well, that depends. A lot of that depends on what your vehicle is, how you're going to get it to the lake, and it depends on what size you are, too. Kayaks, just like boats, have weight ratings, and, if you're a bigger guy, you have to be real cognizant of that. Because, your kayak might be rated for, say, 350 pounds, the smaller ones are, and you think, well, I only weigh, 300, so I have 50 to spare. But then by the time you get your tackle and stuff in there, you might be past that 350 pounds. But there's a lot of kayaks out there that are rated for 500, even 600 pounds for bigger guys and lots of equipment, especially with the popularity of trolling motors. Guys are putting batteries in their kayaks, and that adds, if you're using lead acid, that adds 50 pounds right away. The lithium batteries are gaining a lot of popularity because they're so much lighter. But you just have to watch your weight rating and, get one that's big enough for you and what you're going to take along with you. And then going back to what I said about tow vehicles and stuff, if you're going to put your kayak on top of your car or truck, you have to consider, the overall weight of the kayak itself and your own strength of hoisting it up on top of your vehicle. But a lot of people, use trailers these days, just because their kayaks have all the stuff on them, and instead of taking all that stuff and put it on top of your vehicle, you can just slide it right on the trailer like you would a bass boat and head home, after you're done.
So have kayaks replaced canoes? I don't see many canoes anymore out there at all.
I don't know if they have. Friends of mine have both, and one friend in particular loves his canoe, and he fishes a lot out of it. The advantage of a canoe is, although there are tandem kayaks, a canoe is easier for two people to fish out of two or three. And, there's still the advantages of a canoe being lightweight for portaging and getting down the riverbank and all that kind of stuff, too. But, yeah, I think most people that are going to get into paddle sports now and fish are looking at kayaks. And that's just my opinion, but I think it's probably backed up by industry statistics too.
And why the tournament fishing? Is this just because we as humans are generally competitive and you were looking to take it to the next level, or how did that all come about?
It's just fun. There are kayak tournaments all across the country now, and a lot of them in Michigan. And, it is, I fish them because I'm a competitive person, I like comparing what I can catch against everybody else. But I wouldn't say that's really the primary reason I fish them. It's just a good group of folks that gets together for kayak tournaments. It's although with the advent of larger money and stuff, it's kind of changing a little bit. But you still see guys competing against each other out on the water. Like, hey, I'm not catching anything. Well, here, try this lure. This is what I'm catching them on. In a tournament, people are loaning each other lures and stuff. It's just it's a competitive crowd, but it's a friendly crowd too. I would have to say, and that's a big allure of it too.
Well, I'm thinking about bass tournaments out of a kayak and where this whole thing could go. I mean, if you, and this might be crazy, if you put the front-facing sonar on a kayak and snuck into the lily pads, imagine how effective you could be. Or is that just crazy? Is that just too much?
No, it's not. And there's a lot of talk in the kayak world about the FFS, and a lot of guys have them. There are guys that you can see out in the higher echelon tournaments, or even actually the little topwater tournaments that I fish. A lot of them do have the forward-facing sonar now, and those guys are doing very well. There's another guy, Gilbert Reich, who won 2 or 3 Angler of the Years in different leagues last year for the topwater. And he was the first one I know of that was really good with the forward-facing sonar. He was hard to beat. I mean, he the kid's like 18 or 19 years old and pretty much taught on YouTube on how to fish. And he takes his sonar out there and he just kicks butt. He uses it very effectively. And I saw another friend's kayak that he worked on over the winter. He's got 2 big old Garmin units on it. I mean, it's getting to be like those bass boats that you see with 5 of them on there. So does it give you a huge advantage? It can, but I just saw somebody online the other night complaining that he was going to sell his forward-facing sonar because he could see the fish chase his lure, but they wouldn't bite it, and it just got too frustrating, so he's going to return it. I'm hoping to add it to mine just kind of as a novelty, just because I'm curious on seeing how it works. And,
sure.
And I think it could give a guy a competitive advantage for sure when you just can't find the fish. You can look around the boat and see them.
Dave Mull, the YakMaster, always a pleasure to talk with you. I will wish you a great season, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you, sir. We will.
I will look forward to it. Dave Mull, you can find him on Facebook. I think he's on Instagram as well. I'm still looking for that yakmaster.com, but he says don't hold your breath. We'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, Katie Grzesiak of the DNR talking about invasive species, and then Glen Duncan of Duncan's Outdoor Shop. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Holland on WHTC. That's 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. You can hear us on the other side of the state, Sandusky, out in the Thumb, WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And let's go north of the bridge. Let's go to the Sioux, News Talk 1400, WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by VersaSkins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different expensive sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set and snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern? Versaskins.com is the website. If you're looking for big sizes, I mean 4, 5, 6X, Versaskins can help you out there as well. And if you are a saddle hunter, Versaskins has jackets made specifically for saddle hunting. Again, the website is Versaskins.com. That's Versaskins.com. Want to turn our attention now to Katie Grzesiak of the Michigan DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. Katie wants to talk a little invasive species. Katie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Tell me the topic at hand this time around. I said invasive species, but that's a pretty broad topic these days.
It is, absolutely. And in spring, we're thinking about a lot of times those species that come out early and then fade away. And I'm always thinking about the plants that we can see out in the woods as we're hiking around. One of the ones that's really common maybe throughout the state, although certainly less so as we head north, is garlic mustard, which is a little plant that doesn't get taller than knee-high, but it's able to do a lot of work that we don't like in the understory of our forests, including crowding out other plants like our beautiful trilliums and putting out lots and lots of seeds as well as chemicals into the soil that can stop other plants from growing.
Well,
so that's one of the main ones.
That's a pretty nasty sounding plant right there.
Absolutely. And since it is a little more common throughout the state, it's one we really want to be thinking about. Certainly, you know, if you see some around a blind or something as you're managing it, you can pull it. But we're also thinking mostly about prevention. So cleaning our boots in between hikes or in between times that we're going out into the woods is really critical for this species and for tons of our invasive plants.
So if you know what it looks like and you see it, you can pull it, but is the damage done? Has it already put its bad juju into the soil at that point, and it's going to continue to spread anyway?
Well, so the great news is that this plant only lives for 2 years at a time. And so if you catch it before it goes to seed, you're able to, you know, stop that plant from making more babies and putting those seeds out into the soil. And so, you know, this time of year is perfect, and even into May is really a fantastic time to get out there and work on that.
What else, Katie?
Well, if you find garlic mustard or any other invasive species, it can be really important to report that species. And we have the Midwest Invasive Species Information Network, or MISIN. And you're able to get that app on your phone or go on your computer and zoom right in, or with the app, of course, if you're there, you can take a picture and share that. And then that goes not only to myself and other folks in the DNR and our partners in MDARD and EAGLE, but also to some really fantastic local groups like the Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, so that we're all able to take that information and use it to manage our resources better.
When I think of invasive species, I normally think of aquatic invasive, you know, like zebra mussels and gobies, all that stuff, that kind of stuff. I don't think too much about the plant species, but now that you bring it up, what's the one big tall thing? I got a mental block here. It grows in wetlands that just really takes over. I mean, these invasive species, once they get a hold, some of them can be really aggressive, can't they?
Absolutely. I think you're thinking about Phragmites, the big tall grass in the marshes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So that's a perfect example. And yeah, a lot of times folks are thinking about our aquatic species, which are also really important. But we have several more than several terrestrial species, those species on land as well. So I mentioned garlic mustard. There's some up in our trees, particularly on the west side of Michigan. The hemlock woolly adelgid is a little tiny insect that grows on just our hemlock trees and is really making them very, very sick. So watching out for little tiny woolly balls at the base of hemlock needles, if you're able to identify those trees. There's some great resources online, and you mentioned our website is a great place to go to get that information.
Well, and speaking, and I love the name. I hate the critter, but I love the name, the hemlock woolly adelgid. What can you do to fight that?
So the most important thing is to be watching for it right now. There are some great programs out there to help control. It does involve, unfortunately, either killing trees or using insecticides to help kill those insects and save the trees, but also not moving firewood, not moving hemlock trees or their limbs. So if you get things cut, make sure you're leaving those limbs on site and not moving them around. A lot of invasive species work is about not moving stuff. And of course, as outdoor people, we want to move around and we want to move our stuff. So again, that decontamination of cleaning our boots, checking our gear to make sure that there's not stuff in it, and not moving around branches if you're setting up blinds or something. That's all really critical.
And Katie, the online resources, again, where do we find those?
So michigan.gov/invasives is kind of the home base for everything. But the identification and reporting is MISIN, the Midwest Invasive Species Information Network, or MISIN.org.
Got it. Michigan.gov/invasive. Katie Grzesiak, appreciate your time, and I will wish you luck in finding these things and taking care of them and helping them prevent them from spreading, and I hope we get a chance to talk again soon.
Thanks so much, and thanks for helping get the word out.
All right, my pleasure. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, Glen Duncan answers this week's Ask Avery question, and it's about saving money while patterning your shotgun. What can you do and what should you not do? After the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us the other side of the state, WIOS, in Tawas, 1480 AM and 106.9 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. Send me your question. The best way to get them to me is email Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's exactly what Ben from Mansalona did. He said, well, first of all, he said, Mike, a couple of weeks ago you had Charlie Wiltsey on, and he was talking about hunting turkeys from a tree stand. He said, make sure you let your listeners know that that is only allowed on private land and not on public land. So absolutely, yes. Thank you, Ben, for reminding me of that. Now he says, Mike, to my question, he said, you had the lady from Jay's Sporting Goods on. That was Gina Cannell talking about turkey loads for shotguns and how pricey they can be. He said on a recent trip to Meijer, they had a box of 10 for $30. They also had a box of 25 waterfowl for $25. He says, I use a single-shot H&R 12-gauge with a 3.5-inch chamber and extra full turkey chokes. In the interest of saving money, Ben asked, would it be safe to use steel shot with extra full turkey chokes, and how effective would they be? Well, that's an excellent question. And I don't have the answer to that, but I know a guy who does, and his name is Glen Duncan of Duncan's Outdoor Shop in Bay City, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Glen, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Doing great today.
So I know you've seen the question because I sent it to you ahead of time. What's the answer? What's the answer to Ben's question?
You shouldn't do it. The manufacturers, mostly everybody says full choke is the max, okay? And the reason why is steel shot compared to lead shot. They compare those two. And lead shot can be a tighter choke, and it's normally one full choke tighter than you can with steel shot. And you'll see chokes, they'll say steel shot, and so you know this can be shot steel shot, but most of them will say lead shot. And so you want to make sure that if it does say steel shot. Number two, having been the ranges and stuff, you really need to pattern your gun. You need to pattern your gun for two reasons. Number one, the choke and the ammo. The two of them might shoot together and might not shoot together. And I've had guns where they pattern them, and there'd be a hole right in the middle of the pattern. That's where the head and the neck is, and they would have been shooting a lot of ammo and not getting nothing. So you really got to pattern it to see that your two blend together.
I understand Ben's question. I mean, these turkey loads have gotten real expensive these days.
Yes, it's kind of ridiculous, but the idea that the turkey loads and even the goose loads that they're going the higher price ones, that it's how they're loading them, the wad, the way the wads are made, how much it's not fiber, it's another material that's around the shot to try to protect the gun from the shot going down the barrel and stuff to give a little bit more pushing to it. And so we're getting a bit more accuracy, more longer range by doing this.
So to recap, though, lead shot, because it is softer, will compress more than steel shot that is harder. And if you try to use steel shot in an extra full turkey choke, are you just not going to get a good result, or could you actually damage your gun?
You can actually crack the choke, and you can crack the end of the barrel. And you can shoot it to the point that the choke is now part of the barrel, and you'll never get the choke back out again. So, in the theory used to be choke, choke, choke. Now the theory is, with all the new ammo, you don't need to choke as much. If you take it into some of the federal flight ammo, they're saying don't go more than a modified choke. That's it. You're going to get a maximum groove with modified choke. And so you really need to check your gun.
Well, and you told me something a couple of years ago when you left SHOT Show. You said, Avery, they're actually coming out with 410 turkey loads. I thought that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. But Glenn, as you well know, 410s for turkey hunting now is one of the hottest things out there.
It is. And the only thing that 410, before we were saying that the 20 gauge was a good between 20 yards and 40 yards, and you can push the 50. But what they were saying is that less than 20, your pattern is so tight you can miss a bird. And then if you get past 40, that's the number of pellets at 40 yards, you should at least have 18 pellets in the neck and head of a bird. So when you're patting your gun, you want to be able to count that and see that your pattern is in those numbers. And there's no holes in it. Holes, it's amazing. You would swear that two shots cannot put the hole in the same place. Yes, it will.
Glenn, always a pleasure. I appreciate you answering our Ask Avery question. I'll let you get on with your day, but Glen Duncan of Duncan'sOutdoorShop.com, Duncan'sOutdoor.com. I appreciate that. Also appreciate the folks from Security Credit Union making each week's Ask Avery segment possible. You can check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. And thank you, Ben from Mansalona, for sending in this week's question. He did that by sending me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I would encourage you to do the same if you have a question for the Ask Avery segment. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, a little more turkey talk and maybe more with Tom Lounsbury, and we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner coming up in hour 3 of Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. How are you? I hope you are having, I hope you've had a great week since we last talked. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend as you hear the radio version of this show. As the show is airing this weekend, we are 1 week away from the opener of the Michigan turkey hunting season. I love turkey hunting. We didn't have turkey hunting when I was a kid growing up on the west side of the state, and maybe that's why I am so fascinated by it these days, because it's not something I grew up doing. You know, I never even saw a turkey till, I don't know how many years ago it's been now, but the first time I saw one, I went, holy cow, that's a turkey. These days, they're kind of all over the place. These days, as you drive around town, sometimes you probably have to stop to let a strutting bird walk across the street. They're showing up everywhere, it seems. And when you're not hunting them, they seem like the dumbest critter in the world. Like I said, you'll have to stop and let them cross the road. Somehow, they're one of those things, when you start hunting them, though, they get pretty smart. Now, there is a concern here in Michigan and across the country about turkey numbers being down. The population is indeed down, and nobody's quite sure why. Nothing to get too alarmed about at this point, but just something to keep in mind. There are still plenty of birds out there, and I would encourage you, if you have not turkey hunted, to get out and give it a try this spring. These days in Michigan, if you want a turkey hunt, you can. You can just buy a tag over the counter, depending on the different season and the different parts of the state. Tom Lounsbury is an outdoor writer, an avid outdoorsman, an avid turkey hunter, and he actually hunted in the very first Michigan turkey season ever. He's still at it today, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Tom, welcome back. How are you?
Really good, Mike, and it's always a pleasure being on your show. And spring has sprung.
Oh,
definitely.
It feels good. Doesn't it feel nice now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that first season was 1968, and I saw it on Morton F. on Thursday night, Michigan Outdoors. And he said how to do it, and you did it by mail. And I couldn't believe it when I got this big brown envelope, and it said I had the Baldwin, gave you the date, told you a little bit about turkey hunting. But anyway, I had the Baldwin area, and there were only 30 permits issued for that season in that area.
Not the whole state. Okay, 30 for the Baldwin unit. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how many units they had. But it was definitely, and it may have been the only one. I don't remember that far back. But anyway, I didn't know a thing about it. There are no calls on the shelves. Had to go through the hardware store and order one special, and didn't know what I was doing. But I did hear a gobbler, and I'll tell you, when you hear a gobbler in that spring atmosphere, you're smitten.
Oh, I agree. You don't have to take a bird. You don't even have to see a bird. But with the first time you hear that gobble, it's like at least for me, something changed. And it's like, okay, I have to spend part of the springtime chasing these things now.
That's right. And I just love the entire atmosphere. There's nothing quite like it. In Michigan, my goodness, it's got to be one of the best states to go turkey hunting in because, they're cover all over the whole Lower Peninsula and parts of the UP. So it is just a fabulous opportunity for people. If they've never tried it, they should.
I do know that our success rate for Michigan turkey hunters is right up there with the top states in the country. So, yeah, there's a lot to be had here. What season? Are you going to wait till the mosquito season, till May, or will you be out there in April?
Well, I always, I can remember for years, I've been at it for over 50 years, applying and hoping I'd get drawn. And that was typically hunting up north and everything. And then there were times I was usually good on the draw because I make my choices where I applied. I was pretty good, but you had to keep your fingers crossed. I'm so happy with that 0234 over-the-counter license, and it's from most of the month of May, and definitely gets into the mosquitoes. But I like the fact that I can hunt private land in southern Michigan with that. But I can go up north and hunt public and private land. And I like to bounce around a little bit. So it's a great license. I think it gives people an opportunity, and you can buy that 0234 anytime during the turkey season because it's unlimited.
Well, that's the same reason I like ZZ, Southern Michigan Private Land, because it gives me a lot of options. I can start April 20th.
Oh, you get the whole season?
Yeah, it started April 20th and hunt right on through the end of May. So it's hard to beat for what I want.
Well, and I think you early birds it's gonna be good. It can be feast or famine with that first, season in April. I mean, it can be feast or famine depending upon the weather. But what you're getting, I'm seeing turkeys right now doing, gobblers strutting around. They're getting all warmed up. And the beauty about being in that earlier part is the dates aren't as plentiful as they are when you get into May. And they're more responsive usually to, your calling sequences.
I was a little bit surprised to hear that you do bounce around the state because I would figure that you would hunker down right there on your farm out there in the Thumb and be able to take care of it there, get it done there.
I've always appreciated that, but I did so much hunting in the earlier years up in the hills. I like those rolling hills up near Atlanta, Michigan. And and what you can do there, especially on public land, is run and gun. Here on private land, you may be able to do a little bit of run and gun, but typically you've got a smaller area in which to concentrate. So I like bouncing around. I shot my first gobbler on the family Centennial farm in 2021, and that's pandemic made sure we were all, everybody was staying close to home. And I did get the ZZ that year, and I ended up shooting a real dandy gobbler on the back of the farm, which I thought was really unique. So, and I still, the options there. I like having the option.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you bring up an interesting point, too, that there's not just one way to turkey hunt. You can run and gun. You can do like I do, set up in a blind with a bow and kind of wait them out and call to them. And it's kind of whatever you want it to be, really.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, and there's a lot of info out on how to call and what calls, and they're coming out with stuff. When I started into it, there was nothing. And then they started in the 70s, started having wild turkey hunting seminars and so forth. But now it's you can look right into it and find out a lot of information.
I know you're a shotgun hunter. I find it really interesting that the 410 has become such a popular turkey gun these days.
Well, I'm kind of happy of that for little kids. Getting involved in using that, but I know some adults that got into it like that challenge. But I priced those 410 shells with tungsten in them, and they are phenomenal performers. I never thought I'd see the day that you could kill a turkey at 40 yards using number 9 shot. So it's amazing.
It is amazing, but you start to talk about the price of them too. That's amazing as well.
I stick to my typical turkey loads, and they've got them really improved. I used a load last year. I got lucky. I bought a raffle ticket with the Cassidy Gun Club, and I won their turkey shotgun, and it was SXP Longbeard 20 gauge. And the first thing I did was wanted to pattern that because I got it this time of year. And it was like a couple weeks later, I used it to shoot a big gobbler. But first of all, I shot just little field loads, 2 3/4 inch field loads, and I couldn't believe the patterning. My goodness. Well, the next thing I tried was, of course, I thought with the name similarity, I got the Winchester XR Longbeard 20 gauge 3-inch magnums, and I like number 5 shot for turkeys. It's my favorite shot size. And I was totally amazed. I mean, I could do a headshot on a turkey at 40 yards with that gun.
40
and
yards,
that's good
wow.
enough for me. I got a 30-yard rule, but after I shot that shotgun, I thought, well, maybe I could stretch it out a little bit. But I don't like, one thing that disturbs me about these really expensive loads that are supposed to kill turkeys at 60 yards is how much is that person going to practice with that and really know the efficiency of the shotgun load he's using?
Well, that's a great question, but and we could say the same thing about rifle hunting. You could say the thing about bow hunting. It's up to us as hunters to make a quick, clean, humane harvest as much as we can, and so that's on us. We got to practice with it. We got to see what our gear can we do, and we got to see what we can do with that gear.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, patterning is getting your pattern and is very important for shotguns. Even when you got a bird gun, you want to know how it's pulling and everything. I mean, for regular bird hunting. But, turkey hunting, you're shooting a shot charge it's similar to shooting a bullet versus a birdshot load. And these turkey loads are packed with enough shot. You got a real long shot string. That's not really all that good for wing shooting, but for shooting at a hopefully stationary gobbler, going for a head-neck shot is very important. And
hang
knowing
tight, Tom.
that
Hold on, Tom. I got to take a break, but I want to talk more about patterning when we come back. We're talking with veteran outdoorsman, outdoor writer, turkey hunting expert, Tom Lounsbury, and we'll talk more with him after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. You can hear us in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM, and north of the bridge in Manistee, WTIQ 1490 AM 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots. I had Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots on in the first hour. He says, don't get too antsy. He says, I know the break in the weather makes you want to get out there and start turning dirt and putting seeds in the ground. He said, hey, wait a few more weeks yet. That's just a good example of the type of expertise and the type of help you can get from Killer Food Plots. Check out their website, killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. Get you started on the right foot as you're kicking off your springtime food plot planting season. Springtime to me means what here in Michigan? It means morel mushrooms. It means trout season. It means walleye fishing. And it means, for me, turkey hunting. I'm talking right now with a veteran turkey hunter. His name is Tom Lounsbury. Tom, before the break, we started to talk about patterning. I want to talk more in depth, more in detail on that. Exactly what is it and how do we do it?
I actually use a shooting bench. I got a little portable shooting bench and I got a firm rest, and I treat it just like sighting in a rifle. I start at 10 yards. And this will let you know right away how your sights are lining up with stuff. And then I take it out in sometimes 5-yard increments, but 10-yard increments. And then a real important range is 30 yards, of course, to see how many pellets are, and using turkey head targets. I like using those, but you can get a whole bunch of those. And how many pellets are in the neck and head. They talk head shot, and that's fine, but my aiming point is below the head, and I want to involve the entire shot pattern to take in the head and the neck and the spinal column, because you're taking out the electrical system. If you try body shooting a turkey with a shotgun, you're going after the plumbing. And I'll tell you, an arrow, like you like hunting with, crossbow or bow, an arrow does more damage, in my opinion, penetrating and going through the vitals than what shotgun pellets would on a turkey. They're not made of Kevlar, but they're tougher than nails. And so if you're using a shotgun, you need to, make sure that your pellets, everything's right in. The pattern is central around the head, and you're utilizing the pattern. And then if you want to extend your range, go out in 10-yard increments or 5-yard increments, whatever you feel, take it right out there. Now, that new shotgun, I did take it to 40 yards, and I put it with that load that it would do it. It would do it, but I wouldn't want to push it beyond that. And you need to know that before you go into the field and know your yardages.
Well, exactly. It goes back to being a responsible hunter. You talked about a body shot on a turkey, and I'm glad you brought that up. Years ago, when I first started turkey hunting, when I was hunting with a shotgun, I was aiming at the head. Well, let me back up. I wasn't as responsible as I should have been, and I didn't pattern that gun like I should have. So I was aiming on a bird just below the head, like you talk about, and actually I was off, and I hit that bird in the body, and all it did was just roll the thing over. The thing got up and ran away and took off. I'm sure that bird was absolutely fine. They are tough critters.
Oh, they are tough, and they don't leave a blood trail like a deer.
Yeah.
And and they could take off flying too. It's you want to make that first shot count. I've had times where I'll never forget. I got caught. I was running and gunning up north, and I was moving in on a gobbler, but it was another gobbler. All of a sudden, I knew he was coming in, but he's being quiet, and I went into a prone position. And anyway, talk about I just had a regular bird barrel with a bead, and that's fine. I've killed turkeys doing that. You just got to make sure you cheek the gun right and do everything. But I was in an awkward position. That gobbler came right up, and I shot over. I know I shot over his head. I could have almost killed him with a stick. But anyway, it's very important. And that brings up a point: is sights on a shotgun for turkey hunting. Red dot, I think, is an excellent to put on it, and they make sights. I really like True Glow, where they fit onto the vent rib, and that gives you a real good sight preference. And that's really good when you're patterning a shotgun, because then you're really getting precise when you got actual sights.
So it's a combination. When you're patterning, it's the choke tube, the individual gun, and the ammo. Those can all play a role, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. And not all shotguns shoot alike. I remember I was doing a firearms thing for the Wild Turkey Federation workshop one time, and I had people out on the shooting range, and there were two brothers, had identical shotguns, had identical chokes, and one shotgun preferred sixes, the other one preferred fives. And, you know, each shotgun, you got to look at them as an individual. And when you're checking out your turkey load, you know, that shotgun's going to like a particular load better than others. And you can find that out on the shooting range and know what it's going to do.
You also, a minute ago, talked about birds that come in quiet. Aren't those the biggest challenge for any turkey hunter, is those quiet, silent birds?
Oh, my. I've been there so many times. Yeah, and you're hearing another one, and you got him coming in, and all of a sudden this other one shows up, beats him to the goods. So, and that brings up a point. The first, I'd say 20 years or so of my turkey hunting, I didn't use a decoy, and then I started getting on to using a decoy. And a decoy can be, you don't need it to really bring in a turkey, but by golly, it gives them a focal point. It also gives you an idea of the actual yardage compared to the turkey. I like to set it at a set yardage. And it is a focal point, you know, for that gobbler coming in and taking the heat off you, especially those silent ones.
How many decoys do you put out, Tom?
I usually just stick with a hen. I know that some people like using, you know, the gobbler things, and I think the gobbler-type decoys work good, but I've had real good luck with just a decoy, and I still have the same old original feather flex. I nicknamed her Norma Jean, and she's been beat up by hens and everything. I've had to touch her up with shoe polish and everything, and she's ugly, but boy, she seems to really turn the gobblers on, so I stick with her. And she's easy to fold up and put in a pocket and get to the deal and set out there, and she makes a good focal point.
Last couple of years, I switched over. I started using more of those very realistic, the Avian X decoys.
Oh, yeah.
And boy, they look like the real deal. But they are big. They're cumbersome, like you say. You can't fold it up and put it in a pocket. But I have had good luck with those. I was hunting a bird a couple of years ago that I knew he was an old smart bird, and he would come in and look at my older decoys, and I think he's thinking, I've seen those before, but I put an Avian X out there, and he saw that thing, and he said, that's the real deal, I'm coming in. So in my mind, in my experience, they do make a little bit of a difference.
Oh, I think they would do, and especially where you're hunting from a blind, that would be an ideal situation and do that, because turkeys have extremely sharp eyesight and wonderful color perception. Their color perception is better than humans. And they got, I'm guessing 3 to 6 power eyes, and you know, they only see the way their eyes are situated, a set area, but, you know, they're moving their head around all the time. As far as I'm concerned, a turkey coming in's got 360, and they're sharp. But you're right. If you doing that realistic detail, I would highly recommend it, especially if you're not running or gunning and you're hunting from a blind. Oh, I would highly recommend what you're using.
Yeah, and it is such a different style of hunting. You know, a run and gun with you, you're traveling, you're moving, you're chasing birds. With me, it's like I've got a limited area to hunt. So I try to pick the best spot on there. I'll try to position the blind in the best spot where I can get the best visibility for my decoys. And then it's just a matter of kind of waiting them out. Like, I'll go out there in the morning and I'll listen to them gobble. I may make a couple of soft calls while they're still on the roost. But then I'll let the birds tell me what they want. So, yeah, since I can't chase them, it's like, okay, I got to coax them in. And a lot of times, Tom, it's a matter of being willing to sit there all morning long till late morning when the hens and toms have kind of split up. You know, that midday hunting shouldn't be overlooked, I think.
No. Some of my best times, especially when we're talking May and the gobblers are getting henned up, I I've taken a lot of turkeys from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, with high noon being a real good time frame, because the gobblers, they'll respond to you in the morning and talk to you, then they fly down with the hens, and they're with dates that are on hand, and they'll keep you for later. And then by pretty soon, everything's taken place, what's going to happen with the hens in the morning. And then, from 10 on, some of the gobblers will start doing their shopping for another date. And I've had real good luck, during that time frame.
So you're going to start your season out on the farm, or you're going to head up north?
I might start on the farm, and that brings me up. That gobbler I brought in, he was it took me 2 hours to get that thing to come in. Keep talking. So don't give up. And when they get quiet, what I did with him is when he got quiet, I got quiet. I just decided I'll let him think, and then pretty soon he couldn't stand it. And then he saw Norma Jean, and it was all over after that. But it takes a while to work these birds in, and you got to be patient, and then always be on the lookout for the quiet ones.
And great advice you just gave there, too, is let the birds tell you what they want. If they're talking and they're going to respond, fine. But if they go quiet, you got to go quiet. So there's so many different facets and aspects to turkey hunting, and every one of them fascinates me, and I can't wait for the season to get started.
Oh, hey, I'm getting a little mixed up here. April 20th is right on. We're coming right on us, and May 4th for me isn't far behind it, and I'm just excited. I'm like a kid on Christmas morning waiting for this to get here. And, after over 50 years, it isn't old. I look forward to it every year. And there's no other atmosphere like spring turkey hunting. And Michigan, my goodness, the opportunities we have in this state for turkey hunting are phenomenal.
Tom, I will look forward to seeing a picture of you with a big smile and that turkey over your shoulder this spring.
Hey, likewise, Mike. You using your crossbow?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to stick with a bow. Yep, I'll be out there.
Hey, good. Good luck, sir.
Same to you, my friend, and we'll talk again. Tom Lounsbury talking about turkey hunting, including hunting that very first season in Michigan. I didn't realize it was 1968. That goes back there a ways. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, a few more points to kind of wrap up and reiterate. And, of course, then we'll wrap up the entire show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. I don't know if he's got a fish recipe or if he's going to move on into turkey recipes, but we will find out coming up soon right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM. That's 580 AM. You can hear us in Saginaw on WSGW 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I am in the studios of WSGW right now. I'm here with John Dent doing a great job, John. And by the way, Jonathan, just won a whole bunch of awards from the Michigan Broadcasters Association. So good job there, John. Yeah. But before long, John's going to be at the same status as Charlie, where he's going to have people lining up in the parking lot waiting to greet him as he leaves. But he's not quite there yet. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. They were in my backyard the other day. In fact, they were in my front yard as well. The guys from Reader came over and did the spring cleanup. That's always very welcome, and it's nice. It's I could go out and do it, right? I have the ability. I have the tools. I could go out and rake it all up and bag it all up, but why? The guys from Reader come over, and in a couple hours they bring in a crew of 2 or 3 guys, and it's all done. They're also going to come back and do some routine maintenance throughout the spring and summer, and we've got a project too. I've been talking to Paul about a project we're working on, so. I can't say enough about the crews from Reader. They do a great job. They are a great company, and now is the time to get in touch with them and get the ball rolling. The website, readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. All right, what are we going to follow up on here? The weather. Oh, the weather feels so nice, doesn't it? At least it does as we are here in the studio. Now, this is Michigan. Things can change in a hurry, but I feel like we're over the hump. I feel like we're into springtime now. So for that means turkey season. My turkey season starts next Saturday morning. I will be out there in my Wraith 270 see-through ground blind, which, by the way, you can get one from Jay's Sporting Goods for $149. If you're looking for a new ground blind for turkey season, this is something I think you should strongly consider. If you go to Jay's in Clare or Gaylord and walk back there, grab one of those blinds, put it under your arm, take it up to the counter and tell them you want the Avery discount, and that discount is Avery 424, you can get one for $149.99. If you can't make it to either store, if you go online to jsportinggoods.com, that's jsportinggoods.com, and at checkout, use the promo code Avery424. You can get that same price, $149.99, less than $150. How cool is that? So I will be out there sitting in my Wraith. I'm going to be shooting a crossbow. I'll be shooting rec broadheads. I don't know which head it'll be, but I guarantee it'll be rec. I was out there this morning doing some preseason scouting. There are birds gobbling on the roost on the adjacent property. So that gives me some level of confidence that I've got, birds around because I haven't been seeing them, but they're there. And I'll set up a couple of decoys. I'll use those Avian X that are so realistic. I will put out a hen decoy and maybe nothing else at this point. A little bit later in the season, if I'm still hunting, I'll put out a Jake semi-strut decoy. I killed a bird over that last year, and two longbeards came in. They could not resist it. They saw that Jake in semi-strut with a hen, and they just came in and just beat him up bad. It was very, very cool to watch. And we'll wait them out, and we'll see what happens. I'm also talking with the folks at Linwood Beach about getting the Angler Quest out of storage. So, it's a great time of year for turkey hunting or fishing or whatever. The coyote decoy in the backyard continues to work pretty well to keep the geese out of the backyard. I just move it around every couple of days, and so far it's doing the job. I don't expect that it'll continue to work throughout the whole summer. I think I'm going to have to put the goose fence up sooner or later. What else? That wolf in Calhoun County. I just, I don't know what to think here. I still am inclined to believe that this wolf did not venture down from the UP or even the northern lower. I think there's something else at work here. But along that line, a lot of people think I'm absolutely crazy. They say, of course it came down from the UP. I just think if we had a wolf coming down from the UP or even the northern lower, more people would have seen it. It would have been captured on trail camera. Coyote hunters would have seen it before, whatever. So here's what I'm thinking. If you think you have a wolf in the Lower Peninsula on a trail camera, I'm asking you to email me that picture. Send it to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Please tell me what county it's from. And if you ask me not to share it, I won't share it. But what I'm trying to do is trying to get a better handle on how many wolves are in the Lower Peninsula. I am of the mindset right now that there really aren't any. Maybe one or two scattered in the northern lower, but a lot of people think I'm crazy. So if I am crazy, I'd at least like to know, right? One way to find out is all of you folks who are saying you've got wolves in your backyard or on your property or on your lease, you've seen them, you've got them on trail camera, send me the pictures. Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Maybe it's a bigger problem down here than I realize, but I need documentation. I need some proof. I need some evidence to help get my mind wrapped around it. Unfortunately, I don't think we will ever know the real story with that Calhoun County wolf, just like we never learned the real story of the Wolverine in the thumb. And as long as we're talking outdoor stories we will never have an answer to, why don't we add the Rompola buck? There's the trifecta of outdoor stories we'll probably never get an answer to. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner with another great wild game recipe. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. Sure appreciate you being along with us this week. My name is Mike Avery. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, and I would love to hear from you, is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You know that we wrap up each week's show with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. This week, Dave has a cicada recipe, I hear. Right, Dave?
Yeah, fried cicadas.
Fried cicadas. No, John was saying he found that on the internet. What? That'd be a weird one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I'm sure it's full of protein, and we're going to be eating bugs soon enough anyways.
Good point and an excellent segue. What do you have for us, Dave?
We got a walleye Florentine. It's with spinach and smoked fish. We used to sell this at the restaurant. It was a heck of a dinner that people love. So you need about, this for 4 portions, so you're going to need about 8 to 10 ounces of boneless, skinless walleye fillet per person, 1 packet of fresh spinach, cleaned, destemmed, and you can chop through it kind of coarsely. You need a small to medium onion diced up fine, couple 3 cloves of garlic diced up fine, half a jar of chicken gravy, or if you want to make fish stock from the bones, about 8 ounces of that, thicken that up. Half a cup of smoked fish. You can use salmon or herring or just about any smoked fish would be really good for this. Half a pound of shrimp, optional. You want to dice them up. And if you would like shrimp in your dishes, then I would use that because that really builds up the integrity of this dish. 2 to 3 ounces of heavy cream, a couple of eggs beaten up, 2 to 3 ounces of a dry white wine, half a bunch of scallions sliced thin, a little dash of mace. It really brings out the flavor of this dish. And you can buy it in little teeny bottles at the grocery store. A little flour to dredge and some olive oil to saute. There's quite a few items in this, but it's going to come out really good. So you want to dredge the fish in flour, then in the beaten up eggs. In the frying pan, it's pretty warm. You want to put a little small amount of olive oil. Put the fish in the pan with the skin side up, brown on both sides. Remove the fish to a casserole. And then in the same pan, you can add the onions and the garlic and saute that slowly for just a couple minutes. And then you want to add the wine and bring that up to a boil and reduce that down a little bit. Then add the gravy, the mace, the pepper. Cook 2 to 3 minutes over open, like a nice medium heat. And then add the coarse chopped spinach, shrimp, and smoked fish. Finish with heavy cream. And then pour this over the fish that's in the casserole. You only need to cook it because you're going to put hot fish, hot sauce. You only need to cook it about 5 minutes more. And then, so you're going to put the fish, take a spatula and put it on the plates and spoon the sauce over it. And we sold this at the restaurant lots and lots for many years.
You said that the shrimp was optional. I don't think shrimp should ever be optional. I think it should always be mandatory.
Well, we always did it at the restaurant with shrimp, but when I wrote this recipe, we hadn't done this too many times until we got the recipe down pat.
What page is this in the cookbook, by the way?
Page 28.
Page 28, and I will post this on my Facebook page here this weekend. And I'm looking forward to next week, Dave. Turkey season starts. Maybe we should jump over to a turkey recipe.
That sounds good. We could do 2 or 3 of them. We got a bunch of them.
Yeah. And we still got a minute or so left here. On a wild bird, I mean, are you just breasting the animal out and taking that, or are those big drumsticks, are they too tough to use, or what do you recommend?
They're very tough. Everything's chasing turkeys, trying to eat them, so the legs on the turkey is really sinewy and tough. But if you're going to roast it, it comes out okay to me, but it's not very, very tender. So, if you could put it in like a blue roaster and then cook it that way, or if you put it in a crock pot, the legs and the thighs in a crock pot, that would come out much better.
And don't expect a wild turkey to taste like a domestic bird.
No, to me, a domestic bird has very little flavor, where a wild turkey has a nice nutty taste to it, from whatever they eat out in the woods.
All right, David. Well, I'll look forward to that recipe next week. Are you going to be out hunting next weekend?
I'm going to do my best. I seen three hens the other day when I was working in the yard.
Well, you know what follows those hens, so good luck to you.
Yep, you too, Michael. You going to be out?
All right. Yeah, I'll be out. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll be out there. We'll give it a try, and we'll talk to you next week, Dave.
Well, thank you.
Wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show. But you know what? You are the most important part, because if you weren't listening, there'd be no reason for me to do this show. And at this point, I really don't know what else I would do. Just to follow up to an earlier topic. A lot of people say that we've got wolves all over the Lower Peninsula. I don't really believe that, but you can help change my mind. If you've got pictures of a Lower Peninsula wolf on your trail camera, as many people say they do, please send them to me. Email them to me, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Tell me what county it's from. I will not post it online without your permission, but I think this could be very interesting. If there are that many wolves wandering around, we should have a bunch of them on trail camera. Send me the email, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. This show is called Outdoor Magazine, and it's my pleasure to be able to do it every week. Talk to you next time, my friends.